rolls on. That means I'm not going to continue that.
God.
How's good, everybody? Welcome back to Dungeon of the Mad Mage. We've been live for like 20, 25, 26 minutes, but we've been talking the whole time about R-rated... Talk about politics, actually. We do that a lot whenever we all get together. We talk about politics and rant and rave at each other for a long period of time. Anyways, let's instead fill our lives with a little bit of fantasy and have a good time. Good time? Question mark? Are we here for a good time? I actually don't know if that's going to happen tonight. Let's have some fantasy anyways and escape.
Here for a good time, not a long time.
Well, you know, we're circling back around. All right. Let's go ahead and kick things off tonight with a little bit of a recap, shall we? Previously, in the Dungeon of the Mad Mage, within the protective walls of Spiderwatch Keep, the party, or at least 3 of its members, rested. Matashtai had fallen, struck down by Gorthax Ovrindar. But, thanks to Velena, his body had not turned to ash. Upon completing their mission and returning both Dirzana Freth and Arachnaphane to safety, Ashes, Bones, and Ezrah petitioned Erelal Freth, the Great Mother, to resurrect Matashtai. She agreed, though only if the party paid for the ritual. She could not appear to favor any particular person, not when so many of her own had perished in this war. The party agreed, but Erelal would need time to prepare the ritual. Ezrah met with Rilna Freth to discuss the evolving scenario of the party's involvement in Frethian politics, as well as the return of her niece. And then the party rested. Meanwhile, Matashtai, wherever he was, experienced a memory of his past, of when he was in a space vessel, traveling with his best friend Darren Tash and his mentor Liu Soon, and when they were attacked by Githyanki. But the memory was off somewhat. Things didn't quite match up with real events. But he did re-experience his mentor's death, his best friend's sacrifice. After experiencing the memory, the monk found himself on the edge of nothing, where his master awaited him. The two spoke of whether this was the end of Matashtai's journey, and the monk said that he did not believe it was, but he knew that something had happened to his connection with Velena. Liu soon posited that Velena's sacrifice might have returned her to Dalcor, known as the Region of Dreams, the original home of the quarry. If Matashtai wanted to reestablish his connection with her, he would need to discover a way to get there and to find her. As Matt's consciousness waned and he felt himself leaving the edge of nothing, he asked Liu Soon if he had seen Darren. Master said no, implying perhaps that Darren Tash had survived the ordeal. On the next morning, Erelal and Driven Freth met with the party to resurrect Matashtai. It was an hour-long process in which Erelal seemed to argue with one or more beings. During the ritual, the party brought out Wolf. Ezrah and Ashes spoke private words of encouragement, need, and friendship to Matashtai's still-cold body. And Bones, from the harsh savannas and jungles of Maztica, had nothing to express with words that hadn't already been expressed with actions.
Like, I'm not a wolf, alright?
And then, without much pomp and circumstance, the ritual was done, and Matashtai breathed. It took some time for the monk to actually awaken, but when he did, he spoke to the party about what had happened, about the situation with Velena, about the need to find her. Preparing to leave, the party headed to meet with Erelal and Driven, though not before Bones spoke to them privately. The Tabaxi was concerned by the feeling of missing something that had occurred after being touched by the shadow of the mountain. The two had no immediate answer, though it did seem as perhaps they had an idea, and Driven committed to investigating the matter further. When the party as a whole spoke to the rulers of House Freth, they were somewhat concerned about the overall timeline before them. Giving battle to House Avrindar while Matashtai was weakened and needing to find his friend seemed like a poor option. Fortunately, it seemed as if the party had time to pursue their new path. The Frethians were ready to battle House Avrindar in spirit, but not in practice. Many hazards and difficulties lay between the two drow houses, putting whoever attacked first at a serious disadvantage. Plus, the party needed to speak with its allies and coordinate. Thus, it was decided the party would journey topside, speaking with its various allies along the way, and look for a dream specialist. For Driven Freth had informed them that getting to Dalcor would be all but impossible without a guide, perhaps a night hag or an acolyte of the Lady of Dreams. And so, a path was laid out before them. Head upward, speak to their allies along the way, prepare them for the coming battle, recuperate and look for a dream guide, find their way to Dalcor, find and, if necessary, rescue Valenna. Return and pave the way for House Freth's assault on House Avrindar. Lead the attack against Blonwelv, cutting the head from the snake, and ending one of the major threats to their safety and the safety of their friends and allies. Their battle against House Avrindar had been something they'd been experiencing for a long time now. A constant thorn in their side. And there was something more. Part of prophecy. The worm's 9 tongues corrupt with honeyed lies. The queen sits upon her glossy black throne. The 7 are the key. Sever the 7 strings from the 8th, before the 9 are reborn in shadow. And that is where we fade back into our... You all are still within the chambers of Erelal Freth. You're on the tail end of the conversation with Erelal and Driven. And you are free to do whatever it is you might want to do. If you have any other questions for Erelal, Driven, or other members of House Freth, you are free to ask them whatever you might want. Or you are free to continue onwards to do whatever your objectives are.
Oh, are we good? We can just leave.
Well, all right. What are we doing?
We're leaving.
Right. We're leaving
We
to...
are going to find a Lady of Dreams priestess. I think it's Sehanine.
Right. We're gonna go get our alien ghost bag.
We're gonna make our way topside. As we do, we're going to find ourselves stewards to be focal points for why am I trying to go? Erelal for communication purposes. Most notably within the Legion, because we want to know who should expect to have their body entirely controlled, and
She can probably do it without that part.
She
I
will
feel
confirm.
like-
She will confirm for you that she can communicate over long distances with just a few more words, without controlling anybody's body. It's just that welcoming her in and letting her control someone allows for a longer period of communication.
and also even just impeding on someone's brain in the Legion might be an offense. So let's make sure we're
Not if they're down with it.
I've heard they're into it.
Again, let's have that conversation and make sure.
All right, whatever. We'll tell the bro, and he'll. I
Consent
think
is
he'll be
important,
cool with it.
everyone.
I think he'll be down with it,
So
honestly.
says Henry Crabgrass.
Absolutely. Okay.
What are you? What? Why?
Okay, well, so leaving and going up top is going to require multiple portals. Are we cool with that?
Or a lot of walking.
No, we don't know how to get off a five without the portal. I mean, I guess we can climb the fence and I don't know, scale the wall up the hill. I don't know how that works.
I think we just gather blessings and take portals.
Oh yeah, we can have another blessing from
Yeah.
what's your face. I
So we
mean,
can get one from Errolall, and then we'll travel up, and then we'll get one from Willow, and we'll travel up.
I
Look
forgot
at all
about that.
look at all these connections that you've made paying off. Good job, guys. Good job.
We have friendos.
You got friendos. You got friendos in high places. I
Got
will
friends.
Remind you,
Like,
and this is not intended to be a discouragement. In point of fact, I think
I
that
feel discouraged already.
that
already
using
discouraged.
the portals is the most effective and potentially safest way of traveling, actually, because you encounter less random shit. But since the encounter in which your mysterious feminine benefactor had to draw the attention of the shadow onto herself, she has been unable to guard you. So while you are receiving blessings, and that is helpful, the other half, her protection, no longer exists, at least not currently.
Yeah.
well, I think we're just gonna have to deal.
All right, cool. Well, let's leave then.
Okay.
Let's go to Mama Errolall and get a blessing.
We're already with her.
Is
You guys are there?
she's here? I thought
Yep.
she left.
No, you guys are in her audience chamber, having a conversation about what your plans are for the future.
Well, you got the one that you won't give us. Yeah. You got the one that we can't get.
Errolall, if you could, we've got some things to do. Could we? Is there any way we could ask for protection from the shadow?
So shadow detection, as it would be.
She nods and she tells you, of course, right? But she says, it would make sense for me to give my blessing to all of the individuals that will be going at one time.
Okay, sure. Who else is going?
She walks out of the chamber with Driven, and you all assumingly follow them out of Spider Watch Keep.
Yeah.
What's his nuts? Who is going to be the liaison for?
You find
We don't know if he's ready to leave yet.
standing at attention outside of the front of Spider Watch Keep in kind of like parade dress attention. You find a small contingent of Drow warriors. Standing in front of them are two elite warriors, Balrin, your friend and ally, and
Balrin.
the Drow that you had seen previously, and you know to be the individual named Vikadara, the third member that you rescued from the Sethian Scourges, the one that actually made it here to report about what happened to Dirzana and Arachnavane.
Yeah. Vicadar, I remember her.
So those two are standing at attention in front of a small group of Drow warriors out in the courtyard. Errolall kind of gestures towards them, and Driven speaks, and he just says kind of like very nonchalantly, We'd already discussed it, I believe, in our previous conversations, but it makes sense for you to have a contingent of our people with you, especially if you have been attacked recently by House Avrindar. These individuals will give their lives to defend your people. Hopefully it will not come to that. Regardless, they will be our presence as a part of this alliance. Balrin, and he looks at Balrin as he says this, and there's, like, Balrin kind of like furrows his brow. Balrin will speak with our authority in such times when we are not able to give our own. And there's like a little hush, like a little murmur, because it's not just like these drow that are standing here. There are other drow on the periphery going about their business, etc., etc. Like, what has just been conveyed is apparently a big deal. Balrin is not a member of House Freth and is now being given authority to speak as a member of House Freth.
Yeah. What's his expression? What's Balrin? Does he have like this like deer in headlights?
Let's roll for him.
Or is he like chill?
We're gonna roll a. He's got a +0 to this, so this is just gonna be a straight d20. Oh god. His eyes go wide, his mouth opens, and his jaw kind of goes slack for a second. And then you see Vikadara just kind of like elbows him real quick, like just sharp jab, right? And he just like shakes his head, stands back up, nods, and the moment passes.
All right, well, very good. Balrin, I assume you briefed all of these fine warriors what it's gonna be like with the boys.
You see, there's a couple of like each of them has a very large like backpack intended as if they're gonna be out in the field for a very long time, and Balrin just like he nods at you, and again, I love being able to say this because all of you have insight trained. You can tell he's told them.
They don't believe him.
But they're probably not prepared. So his response has been to make them bring all of the shit that they can feasibly bring, and he's probably going to post them up in their own like secluded room or wing of the lost levels.
Yeah,
because there's like a solid like 10 drow warriors that they're bringing. Like, it's not an entire battalion or anything like that, but right, it's definitely enough that could help in patrols, help in guard duty, or hold a facet of the lost levels if need be, right?
To act as target practice for trigger happy goblins.
And plenty of other situations there. Yep, absolutely. So this whole scenario happens. There's this obvious kind of like scenario. From a mechanical standpoint, I will tell you that this is a promotion for Balrin. So he is actually going to be a half step up from an elite warrior. He is going to be superior to a general drow elite warrior, which he kind of already was because he was indoctrinated into the Skull Takers and thus earning experience with them. But now he's going to be even more a half step above where he was. Seemingly an individual that is not quite the rank of a house captain, perhaps, but still of a higher rank than a regular warrior would be. Okay? So, as that all unfolds, Erilal begins to make her way through the ranks, giving her blessing. Most of it is just her speaking again in that kind of like divine tongue that Ezrah, you can kind of make out like words here or there because it is based in Elvish, but it is an entirely different ancient thing compared to what you're used to. And then she she's got like a little basin or what's the word there that I'm talking about? She's got like this oil that she uses to like anoint people while she's going through this whole blessing. So she goes through that. It takes probably about 10 minutes or so to go through the motions of that. So you all do have a few minutes here to just have some private conversations either amongst yourselves or with Balrin. You do see Rilna is nearby. Dearzana comes by for a second, lets you know kind of right like that Arachnophane's recovering, and specifically like goes over to Bones, right, and tells you right that Arachnophane wanted to come and send you off, right, but is still unable to walk appropriately. And the doctors deemed it better for her to stay in bed, but that she sends her thanks and her appreciation and wishes you the best, and that she'll see you hopefully side by side on the field of battle in the future, right? And then I'm sorry, I'm ending myself. Is there anything that you guys want to do while this is all going on?
Is Zarin around? Zarin?
Zaron. So you
Zara.
roll me an insight check. Roll me an insight check. Yes, it is a Leviosa kind of moment. Oh my god. Okay.
I just wasted on looking for someone.
So what I was gonna say,
what
I was gonna say originally, if you rolled well, I was just gonna tell you, Zaron seems to be one of those types of people that is always around, but never around, right? Like he can step in and out of shadows, and is he likely like here, at least partially? Yes, 100%. With a 26 though, there's no like guesswork or summation or anything like that. You go, huh, I'm pretty sure Zaron is absolutely watching every single bit of this. And I bet he's watching from, and you look around and you see this shaded spot up on this turret to the north overlooking the courtyard. And you just go, from right there. And then Zaron steps out of the shadow and just kind of like gives you this like chin nod thing.
Yeah.
Damn,
And I'll walk over and be like, "Hey, I think we did pretty good."
Did you climb up the turret?
You start walking over. You start walking over, and Zaron just like bloop blinks down into the shadow of the turret itself.
And
because there's like the like bioluminescent like moss and like lichen and stuff like that here or there that creates this kind of like very faint dull glow around the entirety of Shadow or Spiderwatch Keep.
I just wanted to say, didn't mean to like bail on you during the fight, leaving the south to you. It's just that I felt a bit of regret just leaving everything to you down there.
He looks at you and he kind of has this, he has a contemplative look on his face for a moment, like he hadn't been thinking about it, but now that you mentioned it, now he's thinking about it, and he goes, I'm pretty sure if you hadn't, all of this would have gone sideways as fuck.
Oh, don't give me that much credit.
Well,
do not give me that kind of credit.
Look, I'm not putting it all on you in the moment, but like, it seems pretty clear to me that if your whole team hadn't gone to help in the situation, shit would not have worked out the way that it did. And Quylin and I were fine. I mean, it was a little, touch and go for a moment, but we were fine. If you'd stay with us, it would have been overkill, and then your friends might have been killed.
Oh, yeah, I was there for long enough to realize just how dangerous it was. It sucked real bad. Real bad.
Then what are you apologizing for?
I don't know.
Oh, that's fine.
This is a new relationship we have with you guys. I want to make sure that, we're good. I like the camaraderie.
Claps you on the shoulder, right? And he just... We're good. You fought well. I'll be happy to fight alongside you in the future.
Well, looking forward to it.
Fun.
Well, until then, I guess we're heading out.
Safe travels.
You as well.
I was letting him finish.
Now we just stand there and awkwardly stare at each
He's gone. He steps into the shadow, he's gone.
I would make my way over to Rilna, seeing her on the periphery.
Sure.
Hey, baby girl.
You see, actually, right, like, she's not just idly on the periphery. She has a group, a contingent of soldiers that she's training, and she has messengers running back and forth between her and other locations. Rilna is one of those individuals of, like, even when you were walking around with her the night before, right, like, people would come up to her out of the darkness, right, and wait on the periphery of her vision until she, like notified them, and then they would come up, give her a message, she would handle it, and they would run away, right? Like she is constantly working. So even in this moment, she's not ignoring the going-ons, right? She's like half turned, looking at you guys, and then turning and yelling orders at the soldiers.
So I would approach and wait for a moment of attention.
Yeah, she immediately turns over to you and nods.
I forgot to ask last night. We are making our way topside. Is there anything you and your forces need or want that we can potentially bring back to help support?
Huh. She thinks about it for a second.
Anything to boost morale? Or...
Yeah, like she's like honestly thinking about it, and you can see she's like going through this tally in her head, right? Like, what foodstuffs do they have? What would it be plausible for you to bring? What drink type stuff do they have? What would be plausible for you to bring? Are there any like tools or things like that that they don't have, or that you might have a superior version of that would be plausible for you to bring? And like she's going down this list, and she's like very thoughtful about it, and she's you know, it takes her a few seconds, and you realize she's not going to give you an immediate answer, and she's just like, just a moment. There's nothing that we require. Nothing that we don't already trade for or obtain through various means. Nothing that we don't already have as far as our own versions of yours. But, I mean, the thing that I've learned about soldiers throughout any place is that anytime you give them something they're not expecting, it's better than not. So if you have any drink or sweets that you can obtain, preferably in large quantities, and it doesn't necessarily matter if they're good, just that they're different from what we have, and anything you bring from the surface is going to be different from what we have.
So a barrel of Malurcan ale, got it.
You know, she just kind of like nods, and she says, "I'm not entirely sure what that necessarily is."
Ezra did not say that. Okay. Ezra did not say that.
So, but she is basically letting you know, right? Like anything exotic to them is going to be exciting to them and be a morale booster to them, right? So, like if y'all found chocolate or vanilla to bring back, or Malarcan ale or something like that, right? Anything that can be given to a large quantity of the soldiers is going to be something that's like, oh yeah, this isn't a thing. And even if they end up hating it, it's still this scenario of like, oh, we hear this new thing, and then it's going to turn into this, oh, those weirdos from up top love this thing and it's disgusting, right? But it'll still be a funny thing for them to experience. Other than that, she's like, short of bringing us large quantities of good steel and equipment, it's just, the weapons of war are always useful. But if you want to influence morale, there are better ways.
And I kind of abashedly follow up. Is there anything you want or need?
Progress. Success towards the end of this damn war. Come back. Sooner rather than later. And, I mean, I'll partake of the whatever else it is that you bring back, don't get me wrong. But, mostly, I'm interested in that. I, for one, don't want to be a soldier my entire life. And she says that pretty quietly, by the way, right? Yeah. Like, she doesn't, loudly proclaim that. And she doesn't, mutter it under her breath, but she says it in a, in a quieter tone.
As I'm starting to turn away, I say that I'm looking forward to learning more about that. And I make my way back to the group.
Roll me a charisma check.
Oh, yeah, use that Riz.
Persuasion or just flat charisma?
Just flat charisma. You're not trying to persuade anything. You're just...
How about a natural 24?
All right. Well, sometimes you ask for a roll and people get a 5%, and that's what that's what happens.
You got the Riz. Damn, does she giggle?
No, she does not giggle.
Oh.
She does not strike me as a giggle type.
Well, yeah, but it would still be sweet.
No. Alright, I gotta take a note so I don't forget.
What is he eating?
He's not. He's throwing a fit.
Alright, cool. Anybody else doing anything else while this whole, blessing encounter situation is happening? Bones, Matashtai, or, Ezrah and Ashes, your brief encounters do not take the entirety of this time period.
That's all I wanted.
I'm sorry, I lost concentration for a minute. What was asked?
We're asking if there's any loose ends.
Anything else you want to do? Any conversations you want to have?
Think of
or anything like that? Okay, cool. Easy peasy. Errolal finishes going through the motions, granting her blessing to each of you and to the contingent of Drow warriors that is now going to travel with you back to the Skull Takers. And that's it, right? You are all led out of Spiderwatch Keep. You see, once again, your kind of guides are the two powerful individuals that you had met before, the very kind of refined swordsman, and then the kind of angrier one with the patch over his eye. While you meet them, you are still in the presence of Driven and Errolal, right? they kind of like escort you to the gates of Spiderwatch Keep, and you're able to identify through the conversations that they have briefly with these individuals that these two are Zaftal and Tanamar Freth. They are sons of Erelol. So they, with a small contingent of warriors, lead you over towards...
Oh, wait. Who did you say?
Zaftal and Tanamar.
Okay. Sorry. I actually do have some loose ends I'd like to tidy up.
Okay.
You do.
Would at any point I think we were actually introduced to them like on our way out or something.
The last time that when you guys were leaving on your mission with Zeron to go rescue Dirzana, Zaftal and Tanamar and a small contingent of warriors are the ones that went into the Zezana's domain to be a distraction for you. Right? So they're the ones that you met outside of Spiderwatch Keep, and they went up the incline into the Minotaur's territory and caused a ruckus so that you could get through more safely.
Is at least Zaftal present?
Yes, Zaftal and in point of fact, they're about to do that exact same thing again, right? Zaftal and Tanamar and a small group of Drow warriors, especially considering you guys have a lot more people with you this time. They're about to go cause a big ruckus in the Zezana's territory so that you guys have a better shot of not getting swarmed.
All right, well, cool. After I finish up talking with Zeron, I'll notice Zaftal and I'll walk over and hey, I don't think we've like formally met. I know you helped us out when we were originally here, and I wanted to say thank you. But also, doing a little schmoozing around, I heard that you were familiar with a older gentleman, white hair, blood hunter that came through. Would you mind if I picked you about that a little bit?
So Zaftal is this kind of like almost quintessentially like anime character, right? Like super like if you think of Drow in an anime, of like a cool Drow warrior in an anime, that's Zaftal, right? Like you come up to him and he's leaning against the wall, his arms crossed, like one leg kind of like crossed over in front of him, just very self-assured, no concerns about anything that's going on, very stoic expression, right? He's got this shorter kind of like hair, which is a little weird for most of the Drow. Most of the Drow have like this long white hair. He's got this kind of like short spiky hair, right? That almost spikes up in like kind of cloud-esque hair, right? And his arm, the thing that really feels weird to you, right? Like, and you notice this the first time you saw him, is that his armor all seems to be like 2 sizes too large for him. Right? Like, it kind of, like, hangs off of him. It kind of, like, overly encompasses him a bit much.
Can he Hulk out? Can he Hulk out and fill it?
And roll me an insight check.
Insight.
Insight?
It's bad.
You're one of the rare moments where Ashes is not insightful. Maybe you're already in your own head, right? Because you're going to be asking about Borden, so you're kind of like a little psyched out, perhaps. But you don't pick up on something here. Okay. But you do know that when you approach Zaftal, this is a formidable warrior, right? Like he's not just cool bluster or anything like that. He's calm and collected and confident because he has every reason to be calm and collected and confident. You're not sure how you would gauge him compared to yourself necessarily, right? But you have every reason to believe that he is a competent warrior. And you approach him and ask, right, whether you could pick your brain, and he kind of like of like looks you up and down, and he gives you this kind of like knowing grin, and kind of like nods a little and says, "Ah, so you're him. Ugh. He wasn't wrong about your smell."
Damn.
Look, we haven't had a bad. There's nowhere to bathe. We haven't had a chance to clean up in a long time.
He
Trust
kind
me,
of like
I can smell.
he kind of gives you this like like this kind of like I find the time kind of like eye motion, just like
Wow.
you know, kind of like that sounds
fucked
like
up.
an excuse to me.
It is.
It says, "I assume you're talking about Brooks."
Yes, Warden.
What do you want to know?
Kind of where he's heading. He's always been, 2 steps ahead, and I'm trying to catch up with him.
He mentioned you might be.
Yeah.
Kind of like looks at you and he said he kind of gives you this kind of like appraising look, right? Like he's trying to maybe figure something out about you, perhaps, right? And then he kind of like shrugs and sighs and he says, "We sparred a few times. He's good. Really good. I'd say I don't know that I have a good answer for you necessarily, other than I
That's
know that he went below. And I have heard that he mentioned the Death's Head, which I don't know if it's necessarily useful. If you're going down below, then of course you're gonna run into the Death's Head. They're down there."
Do they go by another name? I don't think I've heard Death's Head.
Roll me a history check.
History. Or have I? Let's find out.
You
22.
have absolutely heard of the Death's Head. You heard of the Death's Head in prior conversations with Rilna and Erlal and Driven Breath. The Death's Head mercenaries are a mercenary company of hobgoblins that are inhabiting the 14th floor, I believe they told you.
Arcturia Doom?
Okay.
Specifically, I believe Driven and Erlal told you that they had previously reached out to the Death's Head mercenaries as
That's it.
as
Okay.
potential allies, right, against House Freth, and maybe not allies, but as mercenaries that they could hire against House Freth. But they were unable to do so because they were still in talks, right? Like maybe it was kind of on the table, but neither of them seemed like it was really a plausible thing because the Death's Head mercenaries are already employed.
Wait, you said hobgoblins, right? Do you know who runs that outfit?
Zaftal will kind of like he'll stop and he'll think about it for a second. And he'll say, I believe his name's Doomcrown or something like that.
Same. That's my name too.
His name is my name too.
Bones is like halfway across the courtyard, just turns and shouts, "That's my name too! Same, that's my name too!"
That's
Same,
is
Doomcrown.
like a birth name because I actually am kind of looking for
roll
a
me
specific
an insight
hobgoblin.
check.
Insight. All right, here we go. This one's gonna be better. This is gonna be better than an 8.
It was.
Better than an 8.
Yeah, it's very better. Much better. Yeah, so Doom Crown doesn't have the sound of a given name. You've met many hobgoblins, right? Not very few of them had names like Doom Crown. They all had actual names, but many of them had titles like Crusher or Breaker or something like Doom Crown, perhaps. So this sounds more to you like a title than it would a given name.
Yep. And I'm just gonna throw this out there, just a crazy assumption. Is his real name Azrakog?
Daftal shrugs and he says, "I have no idea. I've never met the man, or
Okay,
person, individual. That's wrong of me to assume."
We're looking for a hobgoblin by that name. So
He shrugs.
Yeah.
Sorry, I wish I could help you more.
no, you're good. No, and honestly, I appreciate your willingness to speak with me as much as you have.
About your
So-
buddy. I don't know what it is. Don't know why it is. He wasn't exactly free with his information. But he's carrying something deep. Something deep-seated.
Yeah, I figured as much.
It's one of those things that I've only really seen come out in a fight.
Hey, speaking of, whenever we got some free time, would you mind a little sparring match so you can kind of tell me how we compare?
He looks at you and he shrugs. I'm always down to spar, but I'm not sure that measuring is a good competition.
Oh,
I mean, sure.
One way or another, someone always ends up feeling bad. If you
He's
want to
saying you got
fight
a small dick.
sometime, though, I do not mind in any way, shape, form, or fashion. I'll tell
Alright,
you,
let's-
your friend was one of the most calm and collected individuals I've ever met in my life. Until he started fighting. At that point, he was one of the most intense beings I've ever seen. And he, like, nods over and he says, "And I live with them." And he nods to, like, Errolal and Driven.
Well, I mean, if it's means anything, I carry his curse. But yeah, we're about to leave, so take a rain check. But
Zaftal rolled
if we-
2.
a 2 for what?
You see,
don't
you
know.
say that to him, right? You say, "I carry his curse." Zaftal looks at you kind of like appraisingly, and whatever he was trying to appraise you on, he rolled a 2.
Okay.
you are just as ferocious.
But yeah, when we get back, we get some downtime. I'll look you up.
Sounds like a plan.
I'll nod and turn heel, walk away.
Circling back around, does anyone have any conversations that they would like to have, or anything that they would like to do before you guys bounce?
I covered
Nope,
my
I'm
bases.
good.
Sounds good. Okay. If that is the case, then you all are led to the thick webbings of the iron kind of like spider webs. And in point of fact, as you are being led over to them, you see for the first time the creation that is responsible for them. You see and you hear kind of like this horrible grinding and clanging. And you see as you approach this massive iron steam spider that is ripping off this kind of like excretion of iron webbing that it is using to repair some of the damage that has been caused to these barriers. And it begins to slowly kind of like trundle away. You can tell it's a construct, right? It's not a living creature. It is a construct created of metal and magic. And there's a small group of drow that follow alongside of it. And one of them is carrying this small kind of like metal device that seems to have like a bunch of knobs and nodules on it. And Driven kind of like walks over and while this is all happening and you guys are getting ready to kind of like make the run types of scenario, Driven walks over and has a short conversation. You see takes this kind of like stone tablet, this metal tablet or whatever, looks it over, walks over to this huge, right, iron spider and begins to kind of like move along, and you see this kind of like glow of arcane energy come out from him as he seems to be inspecting the thing and making sure that everything is working as it's supposed to. And then he right as you guys are about to leave, he comes back over. Zaftal and Tanamar's group breaks off from you, starts, hiking up the side of the cliff towards the other entry into the Zazana's territory. They're going to go with a small group of drow warriors and make a ruckus to draw the Zazana away from you, especially since you have such a large group that are going to be entering into the mist, right? This is part of the concern. Erlal and Driven are still with you, right? Like, this is part of the concern that they have taking large groups of armed forces to go fight House Obrindar, and that is that entering into the Zazana's territory, even with a large force, means that you might get harried or harassed by the mist, right? By the Zazana themselves, or by other creatures in that darkness. So they are here to kind of like guide and make sure that your success chances are as high as possible. So if no one else has anything else, it's time for some rolls. As you guys are given the signal, and you get to actually head into the mist, I need everyone to roll me stealth checks. Go ahead, Matashtai. What's up?
We long rested before leaving.
You all long rested.
No?
Yes.
You
Except for you.
were resurrected this morning.
Oh, I was resurrected after the long rest.
You were
Gee,
resurrected
thanks, guys.
after the long rest, yes.
It wasn't us. She didn't have the spell slot.
Yeah, no, sure.
You didn't have it prepared. We could have
Likely
stayed another night.
Fucked up, guys.
I mean, y'all still
Get your
can.
shit
You
together.
still can stay
I
another
don't
night.
wanna.
It's up to you.
I want to be tired.
Okay.
Get your shit together.
Wow. Really? You gonna be that way?
All right. Sounds like a plan.
He's cranky.
Okay. If that's the case, then everyone
baby.
can roll their stealth checks at advantage, because you gain the advantage because Zaftal and Tanamar's group are creating a distraction elsewhere.
Alright,
well,
if-
4.
I'm
15.
back at disadvantage, so the 19 will
35.
stay.
Okay. 19 stays.
Yeah, no one asked.
15.
I'm going to roll 2. Okay, 18. That's for your drow contingent. So a 35. The fucking night. You guys, 35, 19, 18, 14, 19, 18. Yeah, you guys.
15.
15. Sorry, 15.
Oh yeah, -4.
Right. -4. Still, 15 is quite good, right? Or 15 is definitely okay, right? The entirety of this group is quiet, right? Cautious, taking the right steps. No one's getting too far out in front of anyone. No one's kicking or scraping anything. No one's breathing irregularly. Everything is going perfectly. And then Matashtai, Ezrah, and Ashes, you all realize that you must have left Bones behind because he is nowhere to be found.
I'm gone.
Just like a fucking cat, too. What's a fucking cat?
He's just fucking gone. And it is an instinctual reaction to look back and be like, oh god, did we leave him? Before you're like, wait. It's Bones. And then
He's probably 20 feet ahead of us.
and then you're like, he's probably already through the portal.
He's back up top currently.
Dead. Yeah, he's already smithing in the in the heart of the mountain. You know, so like it's fine. He left 3 hours ago amidst the conversation, right? Like, so you come to that realization, and you all trek to the liquid gate without any issue. The mist does not rise up against you. The Zazana do not come bellowing down the hallways, down the tunnels towards you. You make your way to the liquid gate, and you are now present. Who is making the appropriate sacrifice here today?
I don't remember what it was. This is the pour one out gate, right?
This is the pour one
I
out
mean,
gate.
Matashtai, as far as I know, still has a keg in his bag of holding. So,
Oh, well, I don't think I have a keg of beer. Does it need to be beer?
it's a liquid. It does not have to be
okay.
alcoholic.
I pour some water out for the homies.
So
It
there's
has
this
to be
moment.
water. I think of water.
There's this moment, right, where you all arrive at the liquid gate, and House Freth knows how this thing works, right? At least plausibly, but they don't use it because what need do they have to go to the 6th level of the dungeon, right? Like, this is just a threat point for them. So this group of 2 elite warriors and 10 drow warriors, right, is kind of like crowded around in this small cavern as Matashtai pulls out this bag, and out of the mouth of the bag pulls out the mouth of this barrel, uncorks it, and just starts pouring water onto the fucking ground. And all of these drow are just like looking at each other like,
What the fuck did we get ourselves into?
like, magic bag, maybe magic barrel. What the fuck? What is happening? And then the portal goes right, and the silvery film fills it, and you know you have about a minute before the thing closes, and so through you go. Mossy behind you. Wolf still in attendance, right? Wolf through the portal immediately on your heels, Matashtai. And the drow following up behind, right? Like, you see as you all, like, are running in and you kind of, like, maybe turn over your shoulders, you see Balrin is waving all of them forward. Victara first in after all of you, the 10 warriors following immediately behind, Balrin hot on their heels as the rear guard, and then darkness. That cold,
Darkness.
chill, arcane feeling flowing around you is once again, as you have done so many times before, you are stepping into the arcane bloodlines, the streams, the pathways within the mountain itself. And as you have felt so many times before, you feel that same presence, the knowing presence, and there is a warmth to it, more warmth than you have felt in a while. And you all kind of like, you see, Mossy is not with you, Wolf is not with you, the 12 drow are not with you, right? It's just you four. And you four are kind of like hovering in this space, like floating underwater. You see that much of this warmth lays about Matashtai, because the last time you brought him through the portal, he was dead.
Sure.
And Matashtai, you feel this warmth and this kind of like recognition of spirit, and it almost kind of like faintly reminds you of Valena, right? Like the kind of like protectiveness that Valena feels towards you. This entity feels a similar protectiveness towards all of you, and seeing you restored back unto life and taking the portals yet again seems to have filled this entity with warmth. But it is a pale comparison to what it once was, right? Like, you all have this recognition, both in this moment and in the moments that you have been experiencing with it in the past, right? This entity has been intensely diminished by its attempt to defend you against the shadow in that previous altercation. And you kind of like, you realize, actually, I will say this, all of you roll an insight check now, because all of you have the chance of realizing this scenario in the moment.
21.
Another 8.
17.
I burn
Oh.
a Sark point.
Okay.
It's
Ooh.
worse.
It's worse.
It was worth a shot. 20 was your DC.
Ooh.
I had it both times on advantage.
you did.
Oh,
You did have it both times on advantage. And Matashtai, once upon a time, the most insightful of your party, and even more insightful because he had Valena speaking in his ear. I think it's poetic irony that at this moment, Matashtai still has that insight to be able to tell that this entity that has protected you in the past and now is diminished because of its protection of you. You feel this warmth kind of blossom around you, this happiness to see your return to life. And you realize that this being wants your success, is invested in your success, and would continue to aid you if it could, if its power had not been taken from it, if its power had not been diminished by its altercation with the shadow. And it occurs to you on a 21 in this moment, Matashtai, that it might not be now, but perhaps you all could do something about that. You've done stranger things in the past than provide power to a formless entity.
Like, by provide power, do you mean like pray to it to give it power, or like
I'm afraid
cut some blood and
I'm
just let
afraid
it
a
drip into the
21
ether?
I'm afraid a 21 doesn't quite get you that information, right? You're not really sure
Right.
what power
Qui-Gon
means
force
to it.
transfer?
I'm just
But
looking at the pretty lights.
that's something for you to consider in the future, perhaps.
Okay.
Anyways, as is wont to happen when you travel the dark, infected pathways between the mountain or within the mountain. We must now roll to see if we attract the attention of the shadow. You do have the blessing of Erelal Freth, so I need everyone to roll me a 1d100. You want to roll above a 50.
Slash roll 1d100. I did. Damn, so did Ezra.
Rolling a 100 matters.
Damn, Ezra did it.
Rolling a 100 cancels out Matashtai's 36.
Wow.
Yeah.
So cool.
Good lord.
I got you, bro.
Thanks, man. Already died once. Don't need another one.
Just as there are bad options if you roll a 1, there are good options if you roll a 100. I say it cancels out his 36, but in actuality, if anyone rolls a 100, there is no encounter with the shadow, period.
Wow, really? That's crazy. He's
So,
always there.
Ashes, Ezra, Bones, Matashtai, you feel yourselves after your brief encounter with the warm entity. You're released. You flow forward into the arcane pathways. You're taken towards your destination, and you feel the shadow. Don't get me wrong, the shadow is there, right? Like, you feel the shadow all around you, around the tube of silvery arcane energy, right? But there isn't that moment where, like, the eyes appear, like multiple eyes, and then the clawing hands scrabbling, chasing you down the pathways and then streaking out towards one of you. None of that happens. It's as if you fly completely under the radar. The shadow does not detect your presence in this moment. And that's it. You pass through the portal. There's this whoop, 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 whoop. And you come out into the heart of the mountain. And I'm going to say, Bones, you come out first.
I hate this.
And you immediately remember that your boys have trapped this portal. They had trapped it the last time you came through, but you had... Oh, no, sorry. I apologize.
Was this the guillotine portal?
Incorrect portal. Incorrect portal.
They had
Incorrect portal. I take it back. I'm wrong. This is not the portal that they had trapped. Because this is not the portal within the heart of the mountain. The portal within the heart of the mountain is the one that goes from 6 to 10. This is the one that goes from 6 to 12. So this is actually in the southwest of the Lost Levels.
I was about to get real salty when I tripped in my face again.
This is over by Malair's tomb, his secreted away tomb. I do want someone, though, to roll me a 1d20.
Slash roll d20. Look, Jake, I did it.
Ready.
He did it. It's a 10. Nothing happens.
I didn't even tap the 1.
Oh, you didn't do the 1. It was just D20. Nice.
Right.
I still add the 1. I'm not good at it yet. All right. Anyways, there is no immediate like galloping of goats at you. You do not immediately run into the bristling spear points of the skull takers. You don't fall into the I don't know, the confines of a gelatinous cube or anything like that. You step out of the portal. There's this brief moment where you're kind of like waiting, and Mossy Wolf come through. A few like moments later, the 12 drow come through, and that's that. You are now all within the Lost Levels, and I think before anything else happens, before we decide to determine any other plans or goals or go meet up with anyone, I think that's a pretty good place for us to go ahead and take our break. So we will be back in just a few minutes for more Dungeon of the Mad Mage. We'll see you then.
Goodbye.
Hey everybody, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, consider leaving a like, commenting, or subscribing. It really helps me out. If you'd like to see me live, head over to my Twitch at twitch.tv/thedistanthorizon.